Some website owners live in fear that their site will go down, and some others ignore it and simply hope for the best. Unfortunately, no matter which one you are, if the worst does happen, you can be in a tough position. But luckily for you, there are 6 simple steps that you can do to prevent website downtime. And not to mention, if your website does become unavailable, you can usually get it back up and running quickly. First, before we get into our steps, why is it so important to prevent website downtime? Well, you probably, hopefully, already know the answer, but downtime means that users cannot access your site, which in most cases, that usually equals a loss of revenue. And if you run a blog, you lose out on ad revenue, and you probably will see a dip in your newsletter subscriptions as well. And not to mention, if downtime becomes repetitive, customers might lose trust in your brand and your website. So let us avoid that today and get you going with these 6 simple steps to make sure that you lower the chances of your website ever going down. Number 1 is to monitor your website's uptime. The first step to preventing downtime is to know if and when it's occurring. Ideally, your website should be up 100% of the time, but it's unlikely that this will be the case. Monitoring its availability can alert you when it goes offline, so that way you can take action to prevent excessive downtime. Now, there are several ways to do this. You can use tools like Pingdom, Jetpack, and/or Blog Vault. Now, each tool has their own price point and different functionalities, so we encourage you to start looking there, and you may even find some extra features that you could be using. Number 2 is to work with a reliable hosting provider. Your hosting provider plays a crucial role in your site's ongoing availability. If your server isn't maintained, you're definitely going to have issues with your site, no doubt about it. So when choosing a hosting provider, consider these 3 important points: the host's reputation for reliability, an uptime guarantee, and their support availability. The last one is really important because the last thing you want to do is have to wait for support to clock in tomorrow before you can get your website fixed tonight. Now, the easiest way to determine a good host is by simply looking up reviews online. And you may also want to look into your host's uptime guarantee. Now, typically, you are responsible for determining whether your host is meeting its minimum uptime guarantee, which is another great reason to monitor your site's availability. Fortunately, an extremely easy way to do this is with Code and WP. This tool shares stats for the availability of several top hosting WordPress companies for over the past several months. Number 3 is to choose your plugins and themes mindfully. One of the greatest advantages of WordPress is all of the different plugins that you can choose from. But sadly, there can be some drawbacks. Because of all the code in these plugins, they can sometimes be what's known as conflicting. So when selecting plugins, here's what you should be looking out for. Latest update. Plugins and themes that haven't been updated recently are more likely to include code that conflicts with more recent plugins or even WordPress core. Known incompatibilities. If a developer knows that their product does not play nice with another tool, they're often informed users. PHP version. Some plugins and themes require a minimum PHP version to work properly. You can find most, if not all, of this information by looking at a plugin's listing in the WordPress plugin directory. And the same goes for themes as well. You can find the information there too. Number 4 is to secure your website thoroughly. One of the most intimidating causes of website downtime is a cyber attack. And these hackers can wreak havoc on your site and even take it offline. So here are 5 best practices to avoid attacks in the first place or to help recover your site. Number 1 is to back up your website regularly. Number 2 is to limit login attempts. Number 3 is to enable 2-factor authentication. Number 4 is to be scanning for malware. And number 5 is to set up a web application firewall. If you want to learn more about securing your WordPress website, simply Google the Ultimate WordPress Security Guide by WP Beginner, and that article will tell you everything you need to know. Number 5, renew your domain name registration on time. Website maintenance tasks that only need attention for once a year or less frequently, they can be difficult to remember. Unfortunately, forgetting to renew your domain name registration can result in your website going down. Now, most registrars set up auto renewal by default. However, if you opted out and your domain expires, someone else may purchase it. So this is a pretty unlikely case, but it's definitely one that you don't want to be stuck in. And for number 6, optimize your website's speed. Technically speaking, you can maintain 100% uptime without optimizing your website's performance. However, your users might not see it that way. If your pages load slowly, some visitors might think your content is unavailable and navigate away from your site before actually seeing and viewing the content. In other cases, a slow website could result in actual errors and downtime. If you didn't know, every server has a timeout limit. And if yours can't fulfill a request within the specified period, it may result in a server timeout error. Plus, poor performance is deadly to your site's user experience. Fortunately, an easy solution is by simply installing our plugin WP Rocket, which automatically applies 80% of the best web performance practices on installation. And so that's it for our 6 tips. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And also go ahead and subscribe to our newsletter if you want to get easy and effective web performance tips to speed up your website. And if you want to keep watching videos about having a great website performance, check out this video.